Hello, my name is Ashley O'Neill and I will be talking about implementing recovery-oriented practice. I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Trauma-informed care is a new paradigm to help individuals who have experienced a traumatic event to heal and move toward recovery. Trauma-informed care promotes healing by creating a partnership of human connection to build trusting and resilient relationships and can be used in a variety of settings such as mental health and substance abuse services, corrections and criminal justice, schools and child welfare organisations. The trauma-informed care model is made up of the 5 following foundational principles that promote a culture of safety and empowerment and healing. Safety in the physical and psychological environment is the base principle in which the other principles are built on. Trauma-informed expert Bruce Perry explains that when a trauma patient is functioning in low-level fear, their learning capacity is inhibited, therefore creating a safe and predictable environment where a patient feels safe enough to learn. This is done through having a warm, inviting, private and comfortable space for clients and staff who are welcoming. Trustworthiness and transparency builds on the groundwork of safety and includes organisations operating transparently with the goal of building and maintaining trust among clients, their families, staff and others involved within the organisation. Organisations will also hold themselves accountable, do what they say they are going to do, are open to feedback and criticism, own their mistakes, make improvements to their own practice and apologise when needed. Peer support is viewed as the vehicle of building trusting relationships, safety and resilience. The term peer refers to the clients who are living with or who have experienced trauma and is used in the context of service providers who are working with individuals to promote recovery and healing. Collaboration and mutuality involves creating partnerships between organisations, trauma practitioners, patients and external services to assist with the health and well-being of said patient. Decisions made regarding goals and treatment involve patients during the decision-making process and an ask, don't tell dynamic. Empowerment, voice and choice is interconnected with collaboration and mutuality. Trauma practitioners support their patients to set their own goals and turning silence into action and amplify the voice of their patients while they are developing their own agency and self-advocacy. Shrewsbury is quoted in the text as saying, empowerment is only possible when there is a sense of mutuality. Trauma-informed care can be integrated with recovery-oriented services by providing inpatient patients with care from both frameworks for them to be able to live or overcome with their conditions. By providing inpatients with support through their recovery and addressing the whole person through principles such as hope and being the driver of their own recovery. It is important that inpatients also have built trusting relationships with trauma practitioners and mental health professionals for them to feel supported and empowered about making the steps towards their own recovery. So, how can this framework be integrated with recovery-oriented practice and how is it implemented? When asked how important trauma-informed recovery-oriented practices are to his own professional practice, registered psychologist Ryan Hook from Seahorse Psychology in Campbelltown emphasised that before starting any treatment plans with his client, he spends some time getting to know them and finding out why they have come to him. It is mentioned that trauma-informed recovery-oriented practice acknowledges that some patients may have multiple significant diagnoses, which may be difficult to cure, and the aim to provide them with the tools and support they need in order to live and thrive with their mental health conditions and to feel like themselves rather than curing them. To ensure clients feel safe in the recovery space and in the community, and a family member or friend has inflicted trauma on a client, then making sure the client stays away from their perpetrators or ensuring there is no ongoing threat of harm. Making sure there is no threat of suicide risk and assessing intent by asking questions such as, does the client live by themselves or are they able to stay with family and friends, can help reduce this risk. Trustworthiness and transparency is being very open and upfront with clients, explaining confidentiality and that everything stays between the client and practitioner, except in cases relating to self-harm or if there is a threat of harm to others and court cases. Peer support is driven by the client and they can bring friends or family in as a part of their support systems, who is their next of kin, and encouraging friends and family to be active in their recovery. Collaboration and mutuality practitioners ensure they have regular contact with GPs, psychiatrists, probation and parole officers, drug and alcohol counsellors, and anyone else involved in the client's treatment, and get them on the same page with treatment and making sure the client is receiving a holistic care. Empowerment and choice means that it is self-directed success through motivation, not giving clients the direction, but to help them make their own goals in helping them come up with and guide their own treatment. Empowerment and choice is finding out why a client is seeking treatment and giving them the ability to make their own choices, as well as using a client's existing strengths and interests to give a sense of purpose and accomplishment. Peer supervision is important due to transference issues, and as important not to take clients' trauma home or put it back onto your clients. Supervision isn't done within the Seahorse psychology in that there is just one psychologist working there. However, there are external services and practitioners that specialise in transference and help support practitioners. The issues that have been identified within the trauma-informed recovery-oriented practice is that more linkages to local services and support groups are needed, as there seems to be a gap. Another issue faced by practitioners can involve different cultures, acceptance and perception of what is defined as abuse and trauma in Australia. However, it is important to remember that a client is coming and seeking treatment as they have suffered trauma due to certain events, regardless if their culture, family or friends deem it as acceptable treatment, such as Sharia law or folk medicine. Case study reflection, Client A. Client A came to seek treatment from Ryan Hook at Seahorse Psychology for adverse childhood experiences that continued throughout adulthood. Client A was in their 60s when they came in for treatment and disclosed they had grown up in a violent and abusive household until they were taken away from their parents when they were just 8. Client A then became a ward of the state and went into foster care until they were 16. During their time in foster care, Client A was often beaten and sexually abused, which had a lasting effect on their self-esteem and in turn their relationships. Client A entered a cycle of getting into abusive and toxic relationships, which made them very depressed and introverted. Client A spent their days unemployed and sitting in front of the TV and was not motivated. Client A spent 18 months in treatment, which was driven by them. Ryan asked if Client A's new partner would like to attend treatment with them and help to become a support system, which Client A consented to. Client A's partner was very supportive, however, wanted Client A to work on certain things and set specific goals, which Client A was adamant they did not want to address. Ryan Hook expressed it to the partner that treatment is driven and it is up to the treatment is self-driven and it is up to Client A to identify areas of concern. As a part of Client A's treatment, they got involved in local community groups as well as doing some volunteer gardening at their church parish, as they expressed it was important for them to get out of the house and integrated back into the community. However, due to Client A's medical conditions, couldn't do that alone. As a part of the peer support and collaboration and mutuality principles, Client A was supported by an ex-doctor who attended the church and watched them in case they had a medical episode and could provide them with first aid in that event. This made the client feel like they had a purpose and boosted their self-esteem. The trauma-informed recovery-oriented practice was done well in this case, as the client had the choice, drive and autonomy to steer their own recovery, but had the support from their practitioner, partner and the local community. A critical assessment of research conducted demonstrates areas in need of change with implementing trauma-informed care practices at a macro, meso, and micro level. However, as laws are currently being written to ensure all services and organisations are trauma-informed, the fundamental problem is that organisations and practitioners don't know what a functioning trauma-informed organisation looks like, as it hasn't been implemented before. Each organisation will have a differing way of implementing a complex, adaptive, living system due to their own specific environmental constraints and the people who comprise of the organisation. The shift in this scientific paradigm has caused organisations, trauma practitioners and staff to recognise this shift as a change in the way the world is viewed by restarting training for everyone from the ground up and challenging current beliefs, behaviour and attitudes. In order to support the development of more effective trauma-informed care, Measure C and MAUL A recommends comprehensive training of clinical and non-clinical staff of the trauma-informed care principles and to be aware of how important it is for all staff, including receptionists, administrators, security guards, practitioners, and other staff who frequently come into contact with patients to create an environment in which they feel safe, accepted, unthreatened, and comfortable. By creating a positive space and experience, the likelihood of patient to return and engage in and accept treatment is increased. Another recommendation by Mensa C and MAL A is for clinical advisors and directors to lead and communicate throughout the transformation process, creating a plan with clear expectations and rollout strategies and communicating to staff about how the process is going to be executed creates predictability and trust within organisations, thus creating the likelihood of a smoother transition, higher staff retention, and for staff to be welcoming and ready to engage in training and upskilling to the trauma-informed care model. To continue to provide clients with the best possible care, practitioners often identify SMART goals to improve their own professional practice. For my own professional practice, I have identified 2 SMART goals that I'm working towards achieving, such as SMART goal number 1 would be to complete a Master of Mental Health in order to be competent in implementing the trauma-informed framework whilst interacting with my clients who have experienced trauma. This will be measured by following the university timetable and completing the units and assignments by the due dates. This will be attainable as I've already completed a bachelor's degree in social science and have almost completed the first unit of the graduate certificate in mental health. This is relevant to me as I want to be more confident in my job when interacting with people who live with or who have suffered from trauma, and I want to ensure I do not re-traumatize them unknowingly. This goal will be achieved by completing the 12 units of the master's degree over the next 3 years. SMART goal number 2 is to build professional, trusting, and safe relationships with my clients. I will do this by booking them in for one-on-one appointments and have conversations with them, asking them about their interests and what goals they would like to set and what barriers they would like to work on overcoming. I will be competent at doing this as I have built strong supportive relationships with over 50 clients at my previous place of employment. This is relevant to me as I need to become more confident in my role when I'm interacting with my clients who are suffering from trauma, and I wish to treat them like a person and not a number. I will continue to conduct one-on-one appointments and will speak to 10 new clients each week until I have met them all. Now, to summarise, whilst trauma-informed recovery-oriented practice is an important tool to help clients to live in recovery from their traumas, which need to be delivered by a registered practitioner, it is driven by the client themselves and they need to have the motivation to work towards their recovery. Thank you for listening.